Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
New Audacity looks so weird.
Yeah, you have a new computer. New old computer
generously salvaged for me by Chris.
Yeah, we had... Well, hi, everyone. Jesus. We're back. We're just so excited to be back.
Yeah, it's like we never left. Turn around. There we are. We're in your house, office, car, and we're right back with you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming, and thank you also for having us. There's so much that has happened in the last couple of months. I mean, not like so much, but like some big changes.
Big changes.
You have a new computer. I had to keep a secret from you, and now I don't have to anymore because Chris got a laptop and like, what's the word?
Put some new guts in it.
Restored it. Yeah, whatever. Restored it. And then it was a fun surprise to send it to Sophie.
Yeah, because my MacBook has been dying for a long time. And it did finally, I feel like, bite the bucket the other day when we tried to do this the first time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, like for real. I couldn't get it to turn on. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember.
I was like, well, shit. But thanks to Chris and Katelyn and Joe all teaming up together to keep a secret from me, but in the best way possible. It just arrived randomly when we were still up in Seattle. And I was like, what the fuck is this big box? I didn't order anything. And Joe was like, I don't know.
I couldn't tell
you. And I opened it up and I was like, who the fuck sent me a computer? And he was like, who do you think? And so, of course, I called Katelyn and was like, what did you do?
It was more Chris than me. Chris has also supplied a new microphone for the podcast, interestingly enough. He's like the anything but sugar daddy right now.
I was going to say, welcome to the show, producer Chris.
Apparently.
Moneybags Chris.
Well, he got one over on me, too, because Black Friday, which we haven't recorded in so long.
Jesus,
I'm talking about Black Friday. I was like eyeing a new microphone and he was like, oh, I'll like keep track of it for you. I'll put it in my Amazon cart and like keep track of the price. And so me being me, I kept hounding him like, hey, what's going on as it gets closer to Black Friday? And then it like is Black Friday. Mm-hmm. And then lo and behold, there it was.
He was like,
same day delivery.
Let me keep track of the price. Sure, buddy.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
But yeah, you kind of glazed over it, but you live in a new state now.
Yes, the same one as you. I have picked up and moved myself down to Portland, Oregon with the wonderful Katoon. So now we are in the same state, in the same city for the first time in a few years. And it's so wonderful.
It's great.
We get to hang casually. We went to Home Goods the other day.
We watched Men, the movie.
Oh, God. If you haven't seen the movie Men, Alex Garland's Men, do yourself a favor. It is gory. It was so much fun to watch with Katelyn and Chris.
Yeah, the last 20 minutes will scar you for life.
Yeah. I was talking this out with Joe, and he was like, we really should have warned them. And I said to him, I was like, Katelyn has seen the crime scene photos of the Black Dahlia murder. Like, I don't think there's much that could scare Katelyn. And he was like, yeah, but did she see it unfolding like in real time? Like,
no, definitely not. No, it's definitely fine. The shock factor was like part of it, I feel like.
Yeah. If you don't want spoilers for Men, skip 30 seconds. But there's several levels of men giving birth to other men in graphic detail and quick succession. But
it's so visceral.
It's so visceral.
It's the only word.
Yeah, but the reason I showed it to her is because like the best part about this movie is that like the whole time it's about a woman who goes to the country to escape something horrible that happened to her involving a man. And then as she's in this village, more men start showing up and kind of stalking her and being intrusive in her life. And they're all played by the same man. And it's only when she decides to stop caring and giving them her energy that she is no longer afraid. And I thought that was so powerful. I was like, I have to show Katelyn, but there will be man births.
But feminism.
But there's a lot of M-preg.
No, I wouldn't have believed you necessarily, or like I wouldn't have known what to think. So it was better that way.
Yeah, I feel it is indescribable. But other than scarring Katelyn and Chris for life, we've been having a wonderful time being in Portland and getting things set up. I don't have my basement studio quite set up, but I'm recording in a beautiful sunbeam in my bedroom.
Yeah, good vibes only. It's been very sunny here, actually. This time last year, it was a fucking ice storm, and I was trying to move into my condo. So it's a very, very different winter so far.
Yeah, I've been waiting for the snow to hit, but not yet.
It's just everywhere else in the country. Sorry, folks.
We're sitting pretty in our sunbeams.
Yeah. Anyway.
Let's get to it.
Shall we get to
yes!
it?
In olden days, a glimpse of femur was only for morbid dreamers, but you're not alone. Bring anything bones. Two goofy gals with deathly interest go on a skeleton inquest in your headphones. Anything bones.
Hello and welcome to Anything Bones. I'm Sophie Debreefield Schwartz.
I am Katelyn. What the fuck did my mom do? Hart. Sorry, Mom. And this is the podcast where we talk about bones, bone-related topics, like dark, spooky history, mysteries, murder, mayhem, you name it. It's anything bones. So anything could happen.
If it's bone related, we will be there.
Bone and death related.
Yes, exactly. But we're back from our long hiatus and we are absolutely itching to burden you with some upsetting information.
Exactly. All right. Well, I'm going to just go ahead and start things off.
Oh, please.
I think I sound okay. I have had a cold for the last week, but I think it's just a little bit of phlegm to fight through, not as much.
We love you and we love your phlegm.
All right, so my sources for this one were allthat'sinteresting.com, which is just a classic for me, Oxygen,
Okay.
Wikipedia, and then also Murderpedia. So this is the story of Michelle, aka Shelly, Knotek. And this all takes place in the state of Washington, which you just departed from.
Thank God.
Yeah, my story here today is to prove to you that you made the right choice.
Well, I am itching for some confirmation bias.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Washington's great.
Yeah.
Just sidebar, Crime Junkie, which is a very famous true crime podcast. They have a saying that they've had for a lot of years on their show, stay out of Washington.
Oh.
Because of all the serial killers that have been in, and I get it, but I'm also Washington's not bad actually. So forget I said anything. No hate to Washington. We both lived there a long time.
Yeah, a lot of people are very nice, if not a little shy.
Yeah, they're just shy.
They're just shy. People think you're freezing them out. They're afraid of you. That's what's happening. They're afraid of you.
Yeah, they're a lot of anxious little beans up there.
Yeah.
Shelly was not necessarily an anxious little bean as far as I can tell. Shelly was born in April 1954 in Raymond, Washington, which I'm actually not sure where that is, but I'm guessing eastern or southern Washington. So she was the oldest of 3 siblings, and she unfortunately had a mentally ill and alcoholic mother who was basically just kind of lived a dangerous lifestyle. There was some talk that she was maybe in sex work, but that can't be proven. But it just sounds like she ran with kind of a rough crowd. And she abandoned her children when Shelly was about 6 years old. And they went to live with their father, Les Watson, and his new wife, Laura. This happens when she's 6, and about 7 years later, when she's 13, her mother dies. Shelly's mother dies. The one that had abandoned them.
Yeah.
So obviously there's a tough,
Mixed
relationship
feelings,
there. Mixed feelings. But her stepmother said, quote, Shelly never once asked about her mother. like after she died. She just kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, I can't imagine how tough that would be.
Yeah, you can feel very sorry for the child version of Shelly. And then here's where things start to get a little bit like, okay, Shelly's turning a bad situation and making it worse with her own like actions.
Choices, yeah.
So she loved to torment her little brothers.
Ugh.
Sometimes things, as innocuous as like blaming them for missing homework, picking fights. But the stepmother had said, quote, she used to chop up bits of glass and put them in the bottom of the kids' boots and shoes. What kind of person does something like that? I've never heard that. And that is fucked up. That is like a level of abuse that I am just like, whoa.
A sibling putting glass in another sibling's shoe, that's fucked.
No, it's just, yeah. And like this, I know in some places you're supposed to check your shoes for like spiders and stuff, but in Washington and Oregon, we don't really do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, did she briefly live in Australia where there were giant fucking spiders? Because if not, no one's checking their fucking shoes.
Yeah, what the fuck?
So she was putting glass inside of other children's shoes.
Yeah, that's where we're starting with her bad deeds. It gets worse. In March 1969, she's 14, and she accuses her father of sexually assaulting her, which is awful.
Yeah.
And 99.9% of the time, we believe people who give these accusations.
Absolutely, because to give these accusations is heavy stuff.
Yeah, because, like, why would you accuse somebody of that if it's your own father? So turns out the stepmom finds a copy of a book or a magazine called True Confessions, and it was dog-eared on the page, an article about being essayed at 15 by my dad. And so she makes this accusation and is taken to the doctor, and it's proven that she has never been sexually active. They don't have any proof that she did this. She's taken to multiple psychologist sessions by herself and with her family. She never would fess up to lying about this like horrible thing that could have ruined her father's, life and reputation. They got fed up with her and she went to live with her stepmother's parents, but then even that didn't work out. So it just like on and on. She just like pushes buttons and does bad things to other people and just doesn't seem to take a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, I think you put it really well when you were saying that you can feel bad for the child. But then when she starts to make these choices like glass in the shoes and accusing innocent people of sexual crimes,
yeah,
as Bose would say, that's when we take our empathy cap off.
Yeah. And that thing about feeling sorry for the child version is something I heard on Morbid. And I just it stuck with me.
Well, I think it's hard to reconcile sometimes when the child becomes the type of person who will go on to do the crimes you're going to discuss. It's hard to reconcile those two people being the same person, and you can hear all the horrible things. But as a common adage in true crime, like, there are a lot of people who face horrible things and don't go on to pass on that violence.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a way to compartmentalize, like, you're hearing these horrible things that happened to them as a child and young adult. So you feel compassion for that kind of version of them. But as they start making bad choices, you can retract that empathy, I guess.
Bring it back. Reel it back in. I have to tell myself that all the time because I'm like, oh, that sounds horrible. And then I have to remember there's a reason Katelyn's talking about this woman.
So she, I guess, has a couple of marriages and then has two daughters, Nikki and Sam. So we're up to 1982, and she meets a construction worker and Navy veteran named David Knotek. And so this is where she's going to get her final form, her last name. So they get married 5 years later in 1987. The two of them have a baby together. So Shelly's 13-year-old nephew, Shane Watson, moves into the family home in 1988. Shane's father, assumedly Shelly's brother, was a member in a biker gang, and Shane's mother was unable to care for him. It doesn't particularly say why. Shelly did a lot of bad things to her nephew. So trigger warning for child abuse right here. So she would do this style of reprimanding that she called, quote, wallowing. And she would do this for just like anything that she wanted, you know, like if you used the bathroom without asking. Basically, she would do this to her nephew. She also did this to her older daughters. They would have to stand outside naked in the cold while she like dumped water on them.
Oh, God.
Yeah, you're wallowing.
Wow.
So at this point, she's not torturing her infant daughter, Tori, but every other member of the house is basically under her control. This is really weird and just like fucked up too. She also forced her nephew Shane and her daughter to dance naked together.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
Just like gross,
Nightmare.
Right? Just like, yeah.
Nightmare.
And then when she was done torturing them, she would love bomb them with affection. And as often as abusers do, is what I've kind of learned. So we're up to about 1991. Another character is going to enter our story. Her name is Kathy Loreno. She was a hairdresser that worked in South Bend, Washington. She met Shelly and the two of them became friends. And in 1991, Kathy has an argument with her family or partner, it doesn't really say, and she has to move out of her home. And Shelly and David are like, oh, you can stay with us.
No, don't do that.
She does.
Anywhere but there. No.
She does, unfortunately. Yeah, again, she is an adult as far as I can tell, but she just suffers horrific abuse at her friend Shelly's house. Allegedly, she was forced to do like labor in the nude, like work for Shelly. She was like force-fed pills, and she had to sleep in the basement next to the boiler.
God, Shelly, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't really know. It's just, yeah. Shelly had to have been extremely abusive and manipulative for all of these people to just be in her orbit and stay around her.
Well, it sounds like she uses these like punishments that she concocts just, to control people. Her friend was in a vulnerable situation, and then she love bombs them after she hurts them and probably makes them feel guilty.
Yep.
And so they feel like they can't leave. And I feel the worst for these fucking children. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's horrific. So they also withheld food from Kathy Loreno because in 1994, it's alleged that she had lost more than 100 pounds, and she was covered in bruises and cuts. After one particularly bad beating from Shelly, she was left unconscious in the basement. Shelly left, but David heard her making noises down there, and he found her choking on her own vomit. And he tried to save her, but she passed away in their basement. So when Shelly gets home and learns that Kathy has died, she, as she does, she convinces her husband and kids that each of them would also go to jail with her if they told anybody. And so David burns Kathy's body, and he and Shelly scatter the ashes, which again, I want to know how they did that, because we've heard time and time again that how do they burn this body when it's so hard to get fires hot enough to incinerate them? But they figured it out. They're out in the country, so they probably just had a big bonfire.
Yeah, I was gonna say lots of fuel and maybe lots of trash. I don't know, because fires have to be hot. What is it, 1400 degrees Fahrenheit?
Something like that, yeah.
Anyway, they're continue with them doing the horrific impossible.
Hideous.
Yeah.
So if anybody asked what had happened to Kathy, Shelly would just tell them that she had run off with a man. And this is 1994.
So of course, how could they check that?
We don't really have, there are no cell phones. So yeah, you just you're still at the point where you just take people's word for it, I guess. If you don't have their landline number.
Yeah, no social media to check on people.
No email, yes. Anyway, so The nephew, Shane, has been here all along and has been watching this unfold, this horrific abuse towards Kathy, himself, and his cousins. In February 1995, he decides to make a plan to escape. So Shane had photos of Kathy when she was still alive in the shape that Shelly had left her in, basically like malnourished, cuts, bruises, things like that. He had pictures of her and he showed them to his cousin Nikki and said he was going to take the pictures to the police station and get Shelly arrested. But poor Nikki, and I really don't blame her for this because she's just a kid and it's her mom and she's like, doesn't know what to do. She tells her mom about the photos and Shelly commands David to shoot her nephew Shane in the head.
This is so horrific.
Yeah. Sorry. Welcome back.
Well, just the children being so tightly under her control that they are betray any chance for their own freedom.
Yeah. It's so sad. And I don't know exactly. He was 13 in 1988 and he passes away, I think, in 1995. So he's a young adult at this point. He's like 19 or 20, I think.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, didn't even get a chance to like start life on his own. So they dispose of Shane's body the same way that they disposed of Kathy's body. All's quiet. And then in 1999, another boarder comes to stay at the Knotek house. I don't understand this.
I mean, but how could they know?
No, they couldn't. I don't understand how this continued.
Yeah.
Like, come on. You got away with 2 murders. Just stop. But she didn't. She couldn't. So a friend of the family, Ron Woodsworth, moves in with the family in 1999. And he also begins suffering abuse pretty quickly into his living there. This is pretty bad. He was forced to drink his own urine. And then Shelly also convinced him to jump off of the roof of the 2-story home onto gravel. The wounds from this fall, or, whatever it was, she doused them in boiling water and bleach. And because all of these wounds were not treated, he eventually passes away in 2003, like 4 years after living there and is suffering God knows what.
Yeah, there are no words for people like her.
It's insane. It's insane. Just side note, in 2002, so before Ron's death, Shelly also took over the care of James McClintock, who was an 81-year-old retiree who had somehow or other decided to will Shelly his $140,000 estate. We're not really sure how this all fits in. He does die at some point in all of this, and she gets this money, but she's never actually tied to his death because he allegedly fell in his own home was his cause of death. So
wait, so did he live with her or no?
No, she was like his caregiver, basically.
Okay, so she would go
and
to
then he ended up
his house.
It just said, I don't know exactly what it means, but she took over the care of him, but they didn't live together. She just like helped, and then he was going to will her all of his assets after his passing, and he happened to pass away. He was 81, but still it's a when you put all of this together, it's very suspicious.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Again, they're never able to like definitively link her to this death.
All alleged.
Don't worry, they are going to get her.
Oh, I cannot wait for them to get her.
Hey podcast lovers, my name is Haley and I run the Don't Identify podcast. I have been passionate about helping the unidentified get their names back ever since I found out I lived within miles of where Sherry Ann Jarvis, formerly known as the Walker County Jane Doe, was found. In my podcast, I tell the stories and provide information about unidentified people in hopes of reaching their loved ones and getting their names back. So come join me and help me advocate for these people. You never know, you could recognize someone's story.
So Ron Woodsworth, their latest victim, this is 2003, is the one that's going to lead to all of this, culminating in an arrest. So Tori, who was the baby at the beginning of the story, she's 14 years old now, and she has been watching this from the beginning. And she is the only one left in her house at this point. Her older sisters have moved out. And Tori, and this is again, they all are basically brainwashed by this woman. And Tori is 14 and she decides, you know what? Enough is enough. She talks to her sisters and they're like, you know what? We have to do something about this. And so Tori secretly gathers evidence of Ron Woodworth's clothing and belongings so that they could bring them to the police like their nephew was going 2 years ago.
Good job, Tori.
Right?
Yes.
So police go to the Knotek property in 2003 and they find Ron's buried body. And David and Shelly Knotek are arrested on August 8th of 2003. So Michelle is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of Kathy Loreno and Ronald Woodworth. David Knotek, her husband, is charged with first-degree murder of Shane Watson, the nephew. David is also charged with rendering criminal assistance, yeah, you think, and unlawful disposal of human remains. So they end up pleading their charges down. They both plead guilty to lesser charges in 2004, but not, guilty, but Shelly, her full name is Michelle. Shelly enters and guess what she does? She does the classic Alford plea, which if you don't know, an Alford plea is when the person acknowledges that the prosecutors have a great case against them. They're like, yeah, you're probably going to win the trial. So I'm going to just basically say, uncle, you got it. I'm not admitting guilt, but I am. It's just it's so weird. It's a weird legal move.
The Alford plea, aka the oops, you got me.
Yeah, pretty much. So she served about 18 years at the Washington Correction Center for Women in Gig Harbor, Washington.
Oh, Gig Harbor is lovely, actually.
I know, and I didn't know there was a prison there.
Me neither. Lovely little town on the Sound.
Yeah. Guess what?
What?
She was released November 8th, 2022.
Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
I am not.
She's connected to the deaths of so many people.
Mm-hmm.
That's 4 or 5 people.
3, but 4 probably.
4
at least.
Possibly.
That we fucking know of.
That we know of. In her weird isolated family cult thing that she was doing.
Yeah. Yep. Her husband, David, was sentenced to 15 years in prison, and he served about 13 years of that at the Monroe Correctional Complex and was paroled in 2016. This case got kind of revived in the news in 2019. Shelly's 3 daughters, Nikki, who was 44 at the time, Sammy, who was 41, and Tori, who was 30, were interviewed for a book called If You Tell, A True Story of Murder, Family Secrets, and the Unbreakable Bond of Sisterhood.
Wow, that's going on the reading list immediately.
I know. They are the ones that reached out to the author, Greg Olson, to write this book because they wanted to get the word out because they were afraid of what's going to happen when their mother is released. That
is a completely valid fear.
And she's out now.
Shelly Knotek is free.
She's free.
That's chilling, Caitlin.
I know.
That's chilling.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's okay, but Washington friends.
Watch the fuck out for her. I'm going to post a picture. Watch the fuck out. Convicted murderer.
Yeah, that's horrible. And the husband is out too?
Yes.
Wow. Great. Good job, legal system.
Yeah, this happened in the 90s. So.
Well, the 90s were a wild time.
It's been 30 years. So.
Yeah, but usually for murderers, we give them life.
I know. They pleaded down to those lesser charges. It's shitty.
Wow, Caitlin. This is a story that I have heard of before because she has been big in the news. I didn't realize she was out. I didn't remember who we were talking about till you said the glass thing. Because the glass thing lives with me forever.
Yeah, you don't forget that.
You don't forget that because that is so fucked up. And that is the sign... something like that, so sadistic, and all of her little punishment games that she
wallowing. Yeah, come on. You're just sick.
Making a man jump off the roof.
Yeah, like what?
And like you've just covered some of it. Like that's
Oh
like
yeah, I'm sure we don't know the half of it.
yeah. Yeah, wow. Well, usually at the end of these stories we can, pat the legal system on the back and say thank you for putting a murderer away, but we really can't do that right now.
I mean, they did, but they're out.
But they're out.
I mean, to be fair, she is probably extremely old, but I would be afraid if this woman lived anywhere near me.
Well, it's not. The dangerous thing about her is that, like, even if there were points, I mean, she would beat people heavily, but, like, her strongest weapon was the mental control she had over people.
Yeah, that's a lot of the reason why the daughters wanted this book written, I think, to just, like, as a warning, as a, like, just, like, just a message about the case. Like, yeah, it's just, I'm definitely going to read that for sure.
Me too. Boneheads, if you're looking for something to read in the true crime space, what's it called again?
If You Tell, A True Story of Murder, Family Secrets, and the Unbreakable Bond of Sisterhood by Greg Olson. Greg with 2 G's.
Well, I'm going to check to see if there's an audiobook of that, because that sounds fascinating. And I can't imagine what these women have been through.
Yeah, exactly.
On that note, as you write that down and go search for it on all your reading platforms. Oh my God, it's me up next. Great job.
Thanks. I'm so excited to hear yours.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that horrific tale with us.
Yeah, we're getting back into the swing of things. So just a horrific murder to start off our return. Now, Sophie's about to blow your socks off with the next topic. So we're gonna turn this into a 2-parter.
Yes. So if you want to hear about the incredible disaster that is the Ocean Gate sub, please tune into my episode next week.
Please do, because I'm about to shit my pant.
Yeah. Caitlin's gonna hear it right now, and she's strapped in. She's ready. She's got a little beverage,
I know y'all are jealous, so we love you. We missed you so much. Come back next week. And as always, bon voyage.
Welcome back.
We've missed you.
Thanks for listening to Anything Bones. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Anything Bones Podcast, or email us at anythingbonespodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you to Nick Kruger for our spooky music and Stephen Vetteroff
At Chubby Scrubby on Twitter.
for our jazzy vocals, and thank you to Camilla Franklin
At Camilla Strader on Instagram.
for our beautiful bony artwork. Please rate, review, and subscribe. Strap in. Ocean Gate.